Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Nick Foy, the founder of AskNickFoy.com. And today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 42 plus different tips that you can use to build your Pinterest profile and help your pins go viral, getting more traffic back to your website or your sales page. So Pinterest is a very powerful tool that a lot of bloggers are using to massively grow their business and send tons of traffic back to their website, their email capture pages, sales pages, wherever they decide to direct this traffic coming from Pinterest. So you're probably struggling, to get that traction, to get that momentum going on Pinterest. So I'm somebody who has successfully taken multiple accounts from 0 to 50,000 plus monthly views from Pinterest. I even had one account and got all the way up to almost 300,000 monthly views from Pinterest. So I'm going to be sharing with you, 42 different tips. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So it starts off with your profile. This is step number one when you're setting up your account. You got to have an awesome profile picture. I can't tell you how many Pinterest profiles just leave their profile empty and it's like a ghost profile. Or, they use some stock photo that's not even of them. I would recommend using a photo of yourself, have a colorful background, solid background. If you follow me on Pinterest, Ask Nick Foy, you'll find that I've got this blue, bright blue, sky blue background behind me, and I'm actually pointing with my fingers, over to the left side or the right side at my business name, so that it kind of draws people's attention over to my bio and my business name. And you'll see other creative profile pictures people do like that as well. Then you want to use niche relevant keywords in your business name. So what does this mean? Well, if you're in the fitness industry, that is considered your niche. So you want to use relevant keywords related to the fitness industry. So in your business name, you might say, Nick Foy, and then I would say fitness instructor or fitness weight loss tips or fitness training workouts. I'd add in some extra keywords so that when somebody reads your profile name, they're going to know your name, plus they're going to understand what your profile is going to be about, because I'm going to tell them, I give weight loss tips or blogging tips or, whatever I end up putting in my profile name. Then you have to use those same niche relevant keywords in your bio. So in my case, in my bio, I might share tips like, I help bloggers start a blog, grow an audience, and make money online. So that would be, several keywords: start a blog, make money online, build traffic. Those would be keywords people would be typing in related to my internet marketing niche. So if you're in the fitness niche, you'd say, I help people learn how to diet properly to lose weight, or I help people with workout plans so they can gain muscle. Use some niche related keywords in your bio and your business name. All right, and then the last 2 points about your profile: add a call to action at the end of your bio. So you could say something like learn more at my website, and then you could have a link to your website in your bio. And then once you add a website link to your bio, you need to verify your website. So to do that, you would go into, like a WordPress, and you'd go into your theme settings, and you'd have to paste in a little bit of meta code that Pinterest is going to give you. They're going to give you that code. You just copy it. You got to go paste it into your settings. And there are tutorial videos on YouTube that you can watch that'll show you how to verify your website on Pinterest. So it'll show you exactly where to paste that code. And then from there, Pinterest will be able to communicate with your website and confirm that it's yours. All right, next step, you got to create awesome boards. So you need a mix of at least 10 boards to get your profile jump started. So when people come to your profile, they see that you've got multiple boards. You're not just like a blank ghost, profile. You've got to have a good mix of boards so that it looks like you're active. Each board should have 30 pins. So starting out, when you create a new board, you can, give it a title, give it a description, give it a category, and then go start adding pins to that board until you've added about 30 pins or so to that one board, and then repeat this 9 more times, creating a total of 10 boards. So when you're creating your board titles, you have to make sure you're using keywords again. Pinterest, they're going to read your profile, they're going to read your boards, they're going to read your pins with their software scanning system and their algorithm, and they're going to be able to judge what your content is about based on, the titles and the descriptions you're using on Pinterest. So these got to be keyword optimized so that when people search these types of keywords on Pinterest, your boards, your profile will come up relevant. So in my case with my golf niche website that I make, several $1,000s a month off of Pinterest sales, a lot of those come because people are typing in golf words, golf tips, golf chipping, golf short game, golf swing, all these different words related to the game of golf. And my boards, my pins happen to have those same words in the titles and the descriptions, and that's how my content gets found in the search feed, and then people end up clicking on my boards, they click on my pins, they head back to my website, and they buy my products. So use keywords in your board titles, in your board descriptions as well. And boards can also rank in Google. Not only can they be found if people are searching on Pinterest, but people searching Google can also find your boards. And Pinterest is a popular website, so it's got a lot of link juice already. So that's why Pinterest results can show up in Google results. So that's something to keep in mind when optimizing your boards as well. And then give your boards a category. So you're going to have a big list of categories to choose from. Whether it's educating people, then you'd pick education. If you want DIY and crafts, sports, technology, home decor, or design, they've got lots of different categories to categorize your boards. All right, also use branded image for your board covers. So to do this, you'll have to upload kind of like a square cover photo into that board first, and then you can go to the edit board and it'll say cover photo, and then you just choose a cover photo out of the photos that are already pinned to that board. So that's why you'll have to upload your cover photo first to whatever board you're going to use it for. And again, it can be like a square photo, and you want it to have a cool, unique design that you're going to be consistent for board to board, where you're just changing out the text. So for example, like I might have a circle, and then inside the circle it says the board title, so it might be email list tips or Pinterest tips or starting a blog tips. So these would be my board cover titles inside of like a circle with a solid colored background, so it would look somewhat professional, consistent. All I would do is change out the title, and I'd upload those different board covers to all my different boards. So if you want to check out some examples, again, you can stop by my profile, Ask Nick Foy. Then you need to have a board dedicated to your own website content. So when you're setting up your 10 boards, make sure one of those boards is for your blog posts. So anytime you publish a new blog post, then you can upload a pin for that blog post to your blog post board. So if you get on my profile, I've got one called asknickfoy.com, and anybody can scroll through that board and find all my different blog posts that I've published to the asknickfoy.com website. And then put your best boards at the top of your profile, the ones you want to be seen first. Pinterest usually shows them in rows of 4. So if you want your website board that's got all your blog articles, that could be number 1. And then after that, in my case, I've got, I think, email tips, Pinterest tips, and resources for bloggers and online entrepreneurs. So those are my top 4 boards that, get the most repins and have the best engagement. So those are at the top. And then all of my group boards that I'm a member of come after that, as well as some personal finance boards. So I've, organized my boards in the order that I want them to be on my profile, and that's something you can do too. You just drag and drop your boards around in different positions until you've got the layout you want. All right, next let's move on to pins. So we've covered profile so far. I've given you a lot of tips about your boards. Here comes tips for creating pins. So number 1, you want to create custom templates for your website pins. So when you're publishing blog posts, you want to create pins for these blog posts, and you actually want to insert these photos into your blog post. That way people reading your articles can then pin those images onto Pinterest, helping share your post. So create your own custom branded template, that people are going to be able to recognize. So in my case, I use the same types of templates for all of my website pins. That way people know when they see that type of pin that it's mine and that it's, for my website blog post. So the optimal size should be 1102 pixels tall and then about 735 pixels wide. So Pinterest, it's pretty standard. They make all images in their smart feed, in their search feed. They're about the same width. I think it's either the 735 or it might be 620 pixels wide, but they're all the same width. So the longer you make your image, the taller you make the image, the more real estate it'll take up in the search feed. So you want to have these big, tall, vertical pins that really can stick out and grab somebody's attention. You don't want short, horizontal, where the height's not very tall, where the width ends up being bigger than the height. You want the height to be bigger than the width. So that's why you want it to be at least 1100 pixels tall. So when you're in Canva, which is a free photo creating software, they actually have a Pinterest template already that's got the 1102 by 735 margins, or you can set custom margins. If you want to make a pin that's 1500 pixels by 735, you could do that. Only create and pin images with text overlay. So like when you're making your website blog article pins, you might pick a background image and then you'll overlay some text on top of it that tells the title of the blog article. You want pins that have text on them because that's what people are reading to decide if it's a click-worthy pin that they should actually click on. So that's why with my blog post pins, I'll pick a background image, maybe of a golfer or a golf course, and then I might put some overlay color that kind of covers up the background but still lets it show through. So it might be a dark color screen or it might be a white color screen, and then the text goes on top of that so that you can easily read the text. And it might be white text, it might be green text, blue text, whatever color I choose. And then the text itself, is going to be big, bold. It's going to be some different font choices to kind of make contrast, and that catches people's eye. And then I give the title, the title of the blog post. So my 6 best golf chipping tips for beginners. And that way somebody reads that pin scrolling through the feed, and if it's relevant to them, they'll click on it. All right, then you want to use keyword-rich pin descriptions. So just like we talked about your profile and your boards, you got to stick keywords into the descriptions. That way Pinterest knows what it's about. Especially if you're uploading it direct to Pinterest, you need a keyword-rich pin description. If you're pulling the image from a blog post, then they're going to take, the metadata and stuff that's already on your website. So that's where you want to have rich pins enabled, which I've got a whole other training video on that on my channel. You can check out on how to set up rich pins, and I've got a detailed article on my blog. But that, rich pins are also important to set up, which I think we might be getting to shortly. Only repin high quality content, valuable content. So they say the 20-80 rule, pin 20% your content, 80% other people's content. And you can follow that rule if you want, but I think it's a bunch of BS. I prefer 50-50 or, 60-40 in favor of your content. Why spend so much time on Pinterest pinning other people's content instead of your own? You're on Pinterest to drive traffic to your products, your pages, your email list. By promoting other people's pins, at a 4-to-1 ratio, 80-20 over your stuff, you're just giving other people free traffic to their websites, to their products, to their email list. So I really don't agree with the 20-80 rule. People say, oh, you'll be too spammy. No, nobody's going to be on Pinterest all day long watching every single pin that you pin, trying to be a security guard there, cracking down on you, saying, wow, you're pinning way too much of your own content. You're way too spammy. Nobody's actually going to do that. If you lose a couple followers, you lose a couple followers. I'd much rather just pin my own stuff, get it going viral on Pinterest, and get tons of traffic back to my website. It doesn't, on Pinterest, it really doesn't even matter how many followers you have. It's not like other social media networks. It's a search engine. People are getting on Pinterest to search for pins that are most relevant to whatever shopping they're doing or whatever lessons or tips that they're looking for. So you want your content to get out there as much as possible. So make sure to pin lots of your own images. But when you do repin other people's stuff, make sure it's high quality. Go through and repin pins that already have thousands of repins or hundreds of repins. These are probably high quality posts that, if other people have repinned them, they've gone viral, they must be, pretty good quality. You can also click through those pins and actually check out the articles that those pins are linked to first to make sure it's high quality before you decide to schedule it into your, your auto pinner tool, or if you're manually pinning, before you manually pin it. All right, and then another tip, when you are creating pins for your blog post, make multiple pins. So not only did I just write a blog post called, 42 ways to increase your Pinterest traffic, I would then go create 5 separate pins that promote that blog post. So they're all going to be different. That way, again, you're getting yourself maximum exposure. You're not just promoting that website article once. You're promoting it 5 different times with 5 separate pins. So create multiple pins for each blog post. That way, you can circulate those pins over several weeks. So you might pin one of them today, and then in a week from now you pin the other one. That way you've got 2 pins out there now pointing to the same blog article, and then week 3, week 4, week 5, and eventually you get 5 pins out there circulating around Pinterest and around different boards that go back to the same blog article. So that's how you're going to promote your content. Now, how to optimize your blog for Pinterest. So now let's move over to your website. You need to add a pin it button to your images. So you can install a plugin for this if you're using a WordPress website. Anytime anybody hovers your images, that pin it button will pop up on the image, alerting people to pin it. It'll kind of persuade them. So that's how you're going to get more people pinning your images from your website onto Pinterest, onto their boards. So that's why you want to create a pinnable image that you can insert into your blog post somewhere so that people can find that image, they can save it, that are, because you're going to get traffic coming from Google, from other social media, people stopping by your website from other sources that aren't coming off of Pinterest. So they're going to read your post, and then that image in your blog post can get pinned to Pinterest. Then you want to add Pinterest share buttons, so like social share buttons that float down the side of your page or at the bottom of your page. Your Facebook, your Twitter, your Pinterest. These buttons people can click on to share your blog post on other platforms. So have a Pinterest share button mixed in with like the Twitter and Facebook share buttons. And then you can add Pinterest follow buttons. So if you want to have a little scroll pop up where when somebody starts scrolling down your page, maybe 40-50% of the way down your page, a little sidebar pop up comes up that says follow me on Pinterest, and it's a follow button. Or you can have them in your sidebar. You can embed it somewhere in your blog post. That way you can encourage people not only to pin your photos, but also, follow you. So that way you can gain followers from your blog traffic that's coming from Google and other sources. That people that are on your website, you can gain new followers in addition to gaining followers of people already on Pinterest that are seeing your pins on Pinterest. And then again, include one pinnable image in every blog post. So go to Canva, create the image, then you can either directly upload it to Pinterest, and then you can also go into your blog post and paste in or upload the photo into that blog post. That way it's now in your article itself. And then you can also embed your account or boards on your website. So if you have a sidebar where you're promoting different things in the sidebar, you could actually copy, the code for one of your Pinterest boards, and you could paste it and embed it into your sidebar. So people scroll on your website will also see your board running down in the sidebar of your website, and that might encourage them to click on the board and check out some of your pins from your website. Next, let's talk about creating your Pinterest strategy. So first, you need to sign up for a Pinterest business account. This will give you access to analytics. It'll allow you to enable rich pins, which are fancy type pins that have bold text that show the title of your blog post. It shows the meta description of your blog post. That way people can kind of learn more about your article that you're linking to from Pinterest, in addition to the pin description. You can join relevant group boards. This also needs to be part of your strategy. Group boards are a great way to get exposed to thousands of other people within your niche. So if you don't have a lot of followers, you can join group boards that have thousands of followers, so that anytime you pin to those boards, your content is now getting seen by thousands of people, giving it a good chance of getting shared and going viral within those group boards. Then you can use a Pinterest scheduling tool. So all this sounds like a lot of work, a lot of time, and by using a scheduling tool, you can actually save yourself hours and hours of time that you'd normally spend on Pinterest. So what you can do is you can go upload a bunch of pins from all your different blog posts into like a secret board, and then you can go into your Pinterest scheduling tool. You could save all of those pins that are in your secret board and automatically have them scheduled to get published live on your account to your different boards, whatever they're most relevant to, at a later date. That way you don't have to mass upload a ton of pins for all your blog posts at one time. You don't have to manually log in every day and worry about uploading and pinning new content. Instead, you can upload a bunch of new content at once to your secret board, then go in, schedule all that content from your secret board to be published out to your live profile where your boards are public and they're not secret. And then, you could have 10, 15, 20 pins getting posted to your account every day on autopilot thanks to a scheduling tool. So I recommend Tailwind. I'll link them below. I've got other videos explaining Tailwind more in depth how to use it, but it'll help automate your pinning for you, and it'll also show you a lot of key analytics so you can see which pins are doing really well, which pins aren't doing so well that you can go in and delete. So go ahead and check out Tailwind in another video lesson on my channel, and check out the link to it below in the description. Now, another part of your Pinterest strategy is repinning your own pins regularly. So again, this is what we kind of talked about with the scheduling tool. You can upload them, to like your website board where you've got all your blog post pins, and then if they're also related. So in my case, if I wrote a blog post about Pinterest tips, I'd upload it to my board that's for my blog, asknickfoy.com. Then I'd go schedule that pin in Tailwind to later get published out to my other board. So if I've got a board specifically for Pinterest tips or for traffic growth tips, I could publish that same pin later on again to my other boards. That way you're circulating that pin multiple times to multiple boards to try to help improve its chances of getting seen and going viral. You can also install a pin it button for your browser. So up in the top browser bar when you're on like Google or Safari, ideally with Google they've got Chrome extension, so that's the one I'll talk about here. So with Google, I installed the Pin It Button browser extension. So anytime I'm on a website or on my own website, I can just click that button and it'll pop open a window, and it'll actually take all the images found on whatever article I'm reading, and it'll let me choose which image from that article I want to pin to my Pinterest account. So it's a way to quickly, pin different images from a page that you're on. If you're on somebody else's website or if you're on your own, then you can pin them easily to your boards using that extension pin button. And then again, create a pin it later board. So we've already kind of discussed creating that secret board, and the purpose for this is so that you can kind of stockpile a bunch of different content from other people as well as your own content you're uploading. That way you've got all this, this big inventory of pins that are saved to the secret board that you can go in and draw from later to pin out live to your profile. Bring your own content to the top of your boards. So after you've repinned other people's content, like we talked about, if you're doing like a 50-50, your own content, their content, occasionally you want to delete out pins that aren't performing well, that are at the bottom of your boards, and just repin them up to the top. First, what you can do is repin them so they come back up to the top as the most recent pins that have been added to that board, and then you can go in and delete the old pin that was down near the bottom. That way when people first click on your boards, your pins are going to show up first at the top of your boards, and they're not going to see a bunch of pins from other people. So make sure you've got a good mix of your content showing up at the top of your boards. So that's where we talk about doing a monthly Pinterest audit next. So there's a big debate right now whether deleting pins is beneficial or not. Personally, I've noticed that my accounts that have less pins and they've got lots of repins, so that's going to give me what's called a virality score in Tailwind if you're using Tailwind. So let's say I have 100 pins that I've pinned to my account, but all out of those 100 pins, I've got over 1,000 repins. So every pin I upload, I'm getting a 10-to-1 ratio of repins per pin. So that's a pretty high ratio. I've got 1,000 repins, only 100 pins. So for every pin I upload, on average, I get about 10 repins. And that's how my 100 pins have turned into 1,000 repins total. Now, other accounts that might have 1,000 pins and only 100 repins. So a lot of those pins aren't performing. They're not getting any repins at all. So a lot of people talk about deleting underperforming pins to help kind of make your ratio better in the eyes of Pinterest. So the jury's still out on whether deleting pins is actually beneficial or not. In some regards, your profile looks more credible, more powerful when it's got a history of having good well-performing pins that get lots of shares, lots of repins, especially those pins that go viral. That really helps your profile build authority and helps you rank better and get more, impressions on Pinterest. So deleting pins can help improve possibly your authority and your rankings, but at the same time, those pins could have taken off months from now and gone viral, and now you just deleted them. So you just cost yourself opportunities to have pins go viral. So a lot of times, I might pin something and let it go for a while, maybe 6 months, 9 months, a year, depending on how long you want to let it go. And after a year, if it's still sitting there with only 1 or 0 repins, or it's barely been clicked on or seen, that might indicate it's time to delete it. So it's up to you, if you want to go in and audit every month, deleting out pins that aren't performing well. It's also good to go in and audit pins, for links. If you've changed links, deleted blog posts on your website, you want to make sure to go in and delete those pins, because Pinterest will penalize you for having pins that have error links that, link to error pages, 401 pages. So that's also part of your monthly Pinterest audit. And it's hard to check other people's websites, if you've repinned other people's content and then they've all of a sudden stopped their blog or deleted those blog posts, then their pins are also going to be linking to error pages. So I'm not sure if Pinterest penalizes you for these pins of other people's, but I know for sure you want to make sure all your pins are linking to pages that work. And then we talked about deleting underperforming pins already. That's the third bullet here, so we'll go ahead and skip over that one. Next, you need to set goals and track your performance. So this means, creating a manual spreadsheet that you print out and you've got like stapled to your fridge or magnetized to your fridge, not necessarily stapled, but put it up on your fridge, tape it to your fridge, tape it to your wall, somewhere you're going to see it. So every day you're reminded of putting in that work on Pinterest, trying to grow your Pinterest traffic. That way you're putting lots of energy and effort into it, and you're actually attempting to hit your goals, and you're tracking your performance. So what I started doing, I no longer do income reports as of now, but for a while I started getting back into, publicly posting my traffic reports, my income reports for one of my golf websites that became successful. And, now I kind of just track my analytics behind the scenes. So every month I do an analytics catch up where I go through and look at the whole month's analytics. I see how many visitors came to my website, what sources they came from, how many of them came from Pinterest, and I try to beat that total every month. So the first month I got on Pinterest, without looking at my stats, I'm kind of just giving you a made up example here, but I think I might have had like 800 people stop by in month 1 from Pinterest. Month 2, it might have shot up to like 2,000. And then by month 3 and 4, it had gone up to like 8,000 and then up to 20,000. So real quickly, my traffic grew from 0 to like 20,000 plus monthly visitors from Pinterest in a short period of time. And that was because I was setting goals. I was constantly on Pinterest, trying to work and pin things and repin things and grow. I was working on my strategy and tracking performance. So when you set goals, you usually have a tendency to work harder and to actually follow through and try to hit those goals. So make sure your goals are in front of you, and you want to learn how to use the smart search feature to your advantage. This is another key point. So I've actually got a course called Profitable Pinterest Traffic, and it's going to cover pretty much everything we've covered today, all these different tips, except it's going to go way more in depth, obviously, and it's going to hit on the smart search feature more. So this is the Pinterest algorithm that they use to decide, how to show content to people. So there's kind of like 3 buckets. One bucket is your interests, so the types of pins you're clicking on. Pinterest watches, what you're doing on Pinterest, and they can get a better feel for what types of content you're interested in. So now they'll start showing pins in your feed based on your interests that you're clicking on. They'll also show pins in bucket number 2 of other people's that you're following. So when you follow people and then they post pins to their boards, some of those pins will show up in your feed since you're following them, similar to like when you're on other social media platforms. If you're following somebody on Twitter, you'll be able to see their tweets they put out. Same thing on Pinterest, you'll see other people's posts that they're putting out onto their boards. And then the third is, things that they think are most relevant to you based on your search terms. So this is where the whole keyword optimization, it's a search engine, so they'll pull up pins that they think are most relevant to different searches you're doing. So it's kind of a combination of the 3. So if you can learn how to, get your pins ranking higher for different search phrases so that when people search like golf chipping tips, you'll find several of my golf pins popping up at the top of the search feed because I've been able to successfully rank them. Or when people type in different search phrases on Google, sometimes my Pinterest boards will actually show up on the first page of Google because I've been able to optimize my content for search engines. So learning how the smart search feed works and using it to your advantage can help you beat out your competition and get more traffic to your website. So that is something I'm going to teach in my course, Profitable Pinterest Traffic. Again, you can check that out via the link below this video, or you can go to asknickfoy.com/profitable-pinterest, and that's going to take you there. Or you can go to asknickfoy.teachable.com. That is my course platform that I use that students enroll into my courses. So again, those links you'll see later on. Now, increase your virality score. This is something Tailwind, if you're using the schedule tool that I use, they'll actually judge your pins based on their virality score and engagement rating. So this is what I talked about earlier, getting a high repin to pin ratio. So for my golf account, I think I've got over 4,000 repins and I've got only 600 pins posted to my profile. So that's like a 7-to-1 ratio of repins for every pin. So that's a high virality score. And that's why my pins do so well, because I've been able to get lots of repins on my content. And that shows that my profile is important. My pins are important in the eyes of Pinterest. And then engagement rating. This is the average percentage of pins that get at least a repin. So I think I've got like 80% of my pins get a repin. So it's very rare that when I publish a pin to my profile that it doesn't get at least one repin. And one way you can jumpstart this is you could create a second account that you actually repin your own pins to. That'll help kind of jumpstart your pins and get your engagement rating up and help your virality score. And then from there, hopefully Pinterest will rank your stuff and you'll get other people on Pinterest seeing your pins, repinning them, so that it's not just you repinning your own content to your second Pinterest account. So that would be another tip for you there. All right, now gaining traffic and followers. Here are the tips for that. So number one, you have to go out and actually follow and connect with other pinners. So spend an hour every day, hopping onto Pinterest. Go to other people in your niche, other influencers that have thousands of followers, and go through and just start mass following their followers. And then if they're going to look at your profile and see that, hey, you're, related to the niche. So if they're following this other person, then they're also probably going to follow you because you're posting the same type of content. You're in the same niche. So they're actually relevant. It's all about relevancy. So when they check out your profile, if it's relevant, they'll give you a follow back. So that's how you do it on Instagram. That's how you do it on Pinterest. You go follow, unfollow people. You got to be social. So get out there, engage on other people's pins, comment, leave comments. They'll be notified. Repin their pins. They'll be notified, and then if they've got email notifications set up, they'll get emails saying so-and-so repinned your pin. And that's how they're going to be able to check you out. And that'll end up getting followers, by getting out there and being nice, interacting with other people's. And then when you see people repinning your own stuff, you can send them a direct message saying thank you, or you can leave a comment saying thank you. That way they see that they're appreciated, and that can help encourage them to repin your content more in the future. You can also cross promote on other social media accounts. So if you've got, a big following on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook, you can get on to those platforms and promote your Pinterest account, your pins, and that'll help get some of those followers over to Pinterest to follow you on Pinterest. You can also join Pinterest promotion groups on Facebook. So there's these promo groups where everybody shares their pins on different days of the weeks, and everybody can go in and help share each other's pins. And, this is another time-consuming strategy, but it can help you get new followers and help get some of your pins a jump start, getting them repins, so that hopefully Pinterest picks them up and starts showing them higher in the rankings. And then you can start getting, natural repins from people that are searching on Pinterest. Then you can also create your own group board. So in addition to joining group boards and engaging with other people in big group boards, you can start your own. You can invite different followers and different people to collaborate on that group board. So now you guys are all contributing to that board together. Anytime they get new followers, they automatically get followed to that board. So that's how you can increase that board's following. So your group board might end up having 30,000 followers, even though your profile only has a couple hundred followers. It's because all the other people collaborating on that board, their followers are also following that board. So that board can get a ton of followers, and it can help you get your pins out there to a lot of different people. All right, so that wraps it up. We've made it back to slide number 1 where we talked about your profile. So those are the 42 plus different tips that we just ran through to help you completely, set up your profile, optimize it for getting traffic and getting followers and helping your pins go viral. So I hope you enjoyed this very in-depth, step-by-step, tip-by-tip tutorial. And we kind of covered the surface, we skimmed the surface of all these different points. If you want to learn, more in depth, I've got my Pinterest course called Profitable Pinterest Traffic that I've linked to below. So make sure to check that out. It will give you worksheets, checklists, an action plan, actionable tips of how to do things, what to do, when to do it, all the tools and resources. It goes into Pinterest scheduling tools like Tailwind. So make sure to join that course. I've had tons of students already join it and leave positive feedback. And you can learn all about it, go into my sales page below and see, exactly what you're getting and why you should join and things like that. So I'm going to end off today's video on that note. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up if this video was helpful. Leave a comment below if you found this video helpful or if you have any questions. And be sure to subscribe / turn on notifications so that you don't miss our weekly uploads. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys in the next video lesson this week.